My mom hated my husband for not being rich, but when my sister got pregnant and her boyfriend left, mom came begging for money saying sister needed it more than my kids, so I did this. Hey Reddit. I, female, 34, need some advice about my mom. Female, 58, my sister, female, 26, and how to handle this mess without losing my mind. I've been a lurker for years, but never thought I'd actually be posting here, haha. Sorry in advance for the super long post, but I need to get this all out. So I met my husband Jonathan, male, 36, about 9 years ago when he was doing electrical work in my apartment building. I was having issues with my lights flickering, and the landlord finally sent someone to fix it after like 3 weeks of me complaining. Jonathan showed up, and he was just different. He was super professional, but also made these little jokes while he worked, and I don't know, there was just something about him that made me feel comfortable right away. We started dating a few weeks later, and honestly, it was the easiest relationship I've ever had. He's just a genuinely good person, works hard, makes me laugh, and has always been so supportive. We got married after 2 years and now have 2 amazing kids. Emma, female, 7, and Lucas, male, 5. My mom, Gail, has never approved of Jonathan though. From literally the first time I told her about him, she got this look on her face when I mentioned he was an electrician. She kept asking about his career goals and if this was just a temporary job while he finished school. When I explained he was a licensed electrician and that was his actual career, she just made this disappointed sound that she uses when she thinks I'm making a bad decision. I should mention my mom is obsessed with status and appearances. Everything is about how things look to other people and what they'll think. One time I actually overheard her on the phone with her friend saying she was disappointed. I married down and settled for less than I could have had. I pretended I didn't hear it, but honestly it still hurts to think about. Jonathan has never been good enough for her because he doesn't have some fancy corporate job with an impressive title. Meanwhile, there's my younger sister Tiffany, who can basically do no wrong in my mom's eyes. Tiffany has always been the ambitious one, according to my mom. She went to a better college than me. I went to state school. She went to a private university. She's always dated guys with potential, my mom's word, and she's just generally been my mom's favorite, though no one will ever admit it. Jonathan and I aren't rich by any means, but we're comfortable. He started his own electrical business about 5 years ago, and it's doing really well. We have a modest 3-bedroom house in a good school district. We've been putting money aside for the kids' college since they were born, and we're saving for Emma's braces, which she's probably going to need soon according to her dentist. We budget carefully and live within our means. So anyway, Tiffany has been dating this guy Oscar, male, 28, for about 1.5 years. He comes from money and works at some investment firm doing something financial. I honestly don't even know exactly what he does, but it involves suits and business trips, and my mom is obsessed with him. Last Thanksgiving was so uncomfortable because my mom kept introducing Oscar to our extended family as someone finally successful in the family right in front of Jonathan. I could tell it hurt him, but he just smiled and pretended not to notice because he's too nice to say anything. I confronted my mom about it later, and she acted like she didn't mean anything by it, and I was being too sensitive. So about 3 months ago, Tiffany announced she was pregnant. My mom literally squealed with excitement. She immediately started planning this extravagant baby shower and talking about finally having successful people in the family. She even started looking at luxury condos near Tiffany and Oscar's place because she wanted to be close to her successful grandchild. She lives about an hour away from all of us currently. I mean, she has 2 other grandchildren already, my kids, but apparently they don't count because their dad is just an electrician. It's so messed up, but I've learned to just ignore a lot of what she says. But then everything went to shit about 2 weeks ago when Oscar just left. He packed his stuff and bailed on Tiffany after finding out about the baby. He even suggested the baby might not be his, which is insane because Tiffany is many things, but she's not a cheater. Oh, and get this. Tiffany had quit her marketing job like a month before all this happened because she thought Oscar would support her. So now she's unemployed, 3 months pregnant, and can't afford the rent on her fancy apartment. Tiffany hasn't really talked much about how she's feeling. She's been really quiet about the whole thing, which isn't like her at all. I think she's probably just really proud and embarrassed, or maybe she's just super angry at Oscar. I don't know. She's never been great at talking about her feelings. Last week, my mom invited Jonathan and me over for dinner, saying we needed to discuss family matters. When we got there, Tiffany was already there looking like she'd been crying. Her eyes were all puffy, and she barely looked up when we came in. My mom immediately started going off about Oscar, calling him just another rich jerk, which is hilarious coming from her since she's been singing his praises for months. Jonathan tried to say something supportive to Tiffany, but my mom cut him off, saying that at least Oscar has a real career, even if he turned out to be a jerk. Like, what? I couldn't believe she said that. I immediately defended Jonathan, reminding her that he's a licensed electrician with his own successful small business. But she just waved her hand dismissively and told me that playing with wires isn't a career, it's a trade, in this super condescending tone. Tiffany just sat there staring at her plate, not saying anything. I felt so bad for her being stuck in the middle of this. Jonathan, always the peacemaker, tried to change the subject by asking Tiffany about her plans going forward. But before she could even answer, my mom jumped in saying that family needs to step up in times of crisis. When I asked what exactly that meant, she looked directly at me and Jonathan and suggested that we should help Tiffany financially until she gets back on her feet. The rest of dinner was super awkward. Before we left, my mom pulled me aside and said we should think about what family really means, which was obviously her way of guilting us into giving Tiffany money. Jonathan and I did give Tiffany $1,000 to help with immediate expenses because we do want to help her. She's my sister and I love her, and none of this is her fault. But we're worried about my mom's expectations for ongoing support. Like, how long are we supposed to support her? And what about our own kids and their needs? I love my sister and want to help her, but I don't think my mother sees that there's a difference between being supportive and being taken advantage of. At least I think so. God, this whole situation has me doubting myself. So am I being unreasonable here? Should we be doing more to help Tiffany, even if it means putting some of our own financial goals for our kids on hold? I just don't know what the right thing to do is anymore. Edit. Some people are asking if Tiffany has other options. She could technically move in with our mom, but my mom has this tiny 2-bedroom condo and claims she needs the second bedroom as her craft room, which is ridiculous because she hasn't crafted anything in years. Edit 2. To clarify about Jonathan's business, he's not just a regular electrician. He has his own small business with 3 employees. He makes good money. Not rich, but definitely comfortable middle class. My mom just has this weird thing about blue-collar work being beneath her somehow. Edit 3. Yes, Tiffany is definitely going after Oscar for child support once the baby is born. But that doesn't help her immediate situation with no job and rent due next week. Now for the first update. First of all, thank you all so much for the support on my last post. I honestly didn't expect that many responses, and I'm sorry I couldn't reply to everyone. Things have just been a lot lately. So the situation with my mom and my pregnant sister has basically blown up over the past 2 weeks. I'm so stressed, I literally found myself reorganizing our entire pantry at 3 a.m. last night because I couldn't sleep. My mom has been calling me daily about Tiffany's situation, and not just regular calls. She called me at work 3 times last week, which she knows I hate. I'm a project manager, and I can't just step out of meetings because my mom's calling. The last time she called, I actually answered because she texted right before saying it was an emergency, and I was worried something happened to Tiffany or the baby. Nope. The emergency was that Tiffany found out her apartment complex is raising her rent by $75 next month, and Mom wanted to know if we could cover that too. So after Oscar, the jerk who left my sister, took off, Jonathan and I gave Tiffany $1,000 to help with immediate expenses. We were actually saving that money for a weekend getaway for our anniversary next month. But family comes first, right? We can do the fancy dinner thing another time, I guess. But now my mom is saying we need to do more and has suggested we should pay Tiffany's rent for a full year. Do you know how much that would be? Over $18,000. That's insane. We don't have that kind of money just sitting around. But wait, it gets worse. Last weekend we went to my mom's place for dinner. I know. Several commenters told me to stop seeing her so much, but it's complicated. Anyway, during dinner my mom actually suggested, and I am not making this up, that we should take money out of our kids' college funds to support Tiffany right now. She told me that my sister's future was at stake and that my kids could just get student loans later. I just sat there with my fork halfway to my mouth like, did she actually just say that? Jonathan practically choked on his water. I think my mom saw our faces because she quickly changed the subject to some neighbor drama, but I can't believe she would even suggest that. I mean, I get that she's worried about Tiffany. I am too. But taking money from my children's futures, that's where I draw the line. And by the way, my kids adore their Aunt Tiffany. Lucas, male 5, gave her his favorite toy car last time she visited because he said Aunt Tiff looks sad, which just broke my heart. Oh, and here's where things get really interesting. My dad Charles, male 60, called me out of the blue last week. For context, my parents have been divorced for like 12 years and Dad lives in Arizona now. Apparently our cousin Melissa told him what was going on. Families, am I right? So Dad told me something shocking. My mom apparently loaned $50,000 to Oscar's parents for some business venture like 6 months ago, and they never paid her back. She never mentioned this to me, not once. And get this, last year when Emma, female, 7, had that school trip to the Science Museum that cost $120, Mom told me she couldn't help because she was on a fixed income. Meanwhile, she's giving Oscar's family $50,000. According to my dad, Mom saw Tiffany's relationship with Oscar as a way to get her money back. Like she was investing in their relationship or something. It's so messed up. And now it all makes sense why she was pushing so hard for them to get married. This isn't the first time she's done something like this, by the way. Years ago, she convinced me to loan my cousin Derek $2,000 for emergency car repairs, and I never saw a penny of it back. I should have seen the pattern. So I decided to talk to Tiffany directly, without Mom involved. We met for coffee, and I found out Mom has been telling Tiffany that Jonathan and I would financially support her completely until the baby is born, and probably beyond. Tiffany seemed surprised when I explained that while we want to help, we have our own financial limitations. At first I thought she was disappointed, but maybe she was just embarrassed about the whole situation. I don't know, she's always been hard to read. Then yesterday, Mom showed up at my house unannounced while Jonathan was at work. She didn't even sit down before starting to talk about finalizing how we were going to help my sister. Like it was already decided that we were bankrolling Tiffany's entire life. I tried explaining that while we want to help, we have our own financial responsibilities. Mom just dismissed this and said my sister's future was at stake and my kids would be fine. When I mentioned that Emma needs braces soon and Lucas needs speech therapy that isn't fully covered by insurance, Mom actually said these were luxury expenses that could wait. I was shocked. Speech therapy is a luxury. Lucas has been struggling so hard and his therapist says early intervention is crucial. I tried to calmly explain our budget limitations and mentioned Jonathan's careful financial planning. That's when Mom exploded and said, if I hadn't settled for a blue-collar nobody, I'd have money to help my sister. I defended Jonathan, explaining that his business is successful and that he works incredibly hard for our family. Mom just rolled her eyes and said that successful means being able to support family in crisis. Before leaving, she told me she always knew I was selfish, just like my father. I was literally shaking after she left. I felt so guilty and confused about what my obligations should be here. Am I being selfish? Should we be doing more? Last night, Jonathan and I sat down after the kids went to bed and went through all our finances. The reality is that the kind of support my mom is expecting would seriously mess up our family's stability. We have Lucas's speech therapy, $150 per week after insurance. Emma's braces coming up soon, $3,500. We've been saving for a minivan because our current car is starting to have issues. Jonathan's mom needs help with medical bills occasionally. Our mortgage and regular bills, the kids' college funds that we contribute to monthly. Jonathan was really quiet during our discussion. At first I thought he was disappointed in me for not wanting to help Tiffany more, but actually he was just thinking through all our options carefully. He's such a practical, thoughtful person, which is apparently a bad thing according to my mom. I feel so torn. I love my sister and I want to help her, but I also have to protect my kids' futures, right? I just don't know what to do. How can I support Tiffany without enabling my mom's manipulation? Am I missing something here? My mom has me so confused that I'm second-guessing everything. Edit. Several people asked why Tiffany can't stay with our mom. Mom claims she needs her second and third bedrooms for her craft room and home office. She's retired, but whatever. And says her condo association has rules about extended guests. I'm not sure if that's true or she just doesn't want to be inconvenienced. Edit 2. To the people suggesting we should just cut my mom off completely, it's not that simple. Yes, she's manipulative, but she's still my mom and Tiffany's mom. And I worry that if we stop helping completely, Tiffany will be the one who suffers. Now for the second update. Hey everyone. First, thank you so much for all the advice and support on my previous posts. I've been reading every comment, even the ones telling me to just cut off my mom completely, which, I get it, but it's complicated, you know? So things with my mom, Gail, female 58, my pregnant sister, Tiffany, female 26, and the whole financial support situation has basically exploded over the past couple weeks. The stress has been so bad, I literally found myself alphabetizing our pantry at 3 a.m. 3 nights ago because my brain wouldn't shut up. Who does that? Me, apparently. And I'm not even an organized person normally. Jonathan found me surrounded by soup cans and was like, "Honey, what are you doing?" And I couldn't even explain it properly. And then yesterday morning, Lucas brought me his favorite stuffed dinosaur and told me Rex helps him when he's sad. I just about lost it because even my 5-year-old can tell how stressed I am. That was basically my rock bottom moment. But let me get to what happened Saturday morning, which is when everything just completely blew up. It was around 8:30 a.m. The kids were watching cartoons and Jonathan was making pancakes. It's like our little family tradition. I was still in my pajamas trying to enjoy my coffee when the doorbell rang. Jonathan answered it and I heard him say, "Oh, hi Gail, Tiffany. Is everything okay?" in this confused voice. I walked to the door and nearly spit out my coffee. There was my mom and Tiffany standing there with 4 suitcases and some boxes. My mom literally pushed past Jonathan and started dragging one of the suitcases in, saying they needed to get Tiffany settled in. I was completely confused and was like, "Wait, what? Settled in where? What's happening?" And my mom just announced, not asked, announced that Tiffany was moving in because she couldn't afford her place anymore. Like it was already decided. Tiffany was just standing there looking at the floor, and I couldn't tell if she was embarrassed or annoyed at me for not immediately helping with the bags. I tried to calmly say we hadn't discussed this arrangement at all, and she literally waved her hand at me dismissively and said we had the space since our guest room was just sitting there empty. Jonathan pointed out that we don't have a guest room, and that's Lucas's bedroom. And then my mom had the audacity to suggest the boys could share a room. Lucas is 5 and has some sensory issues we're working through with his therapist. Sharing a room would be a nightmare for him right now. When I explained this, my mom got this look on her face that I've known since childhood. It's the "you're disappointing me again" look. She told me that my sister deserved my help more than my kids deserved extras, and that at least she tried to do better. Then she told us we needed to write Tiffany a check for $20,000 from our savings. $20,000. Just like that. I looked at Tiffany and asked her if this was her idea, but my mom jumped in before she could answer, saying Tiffany needed stability and we were the only ones who could provide it. Jonathan suggested we all calm down and talk about options rationally. My mom scoffed and said this wasn't the time for blue-collar budgeting. That's when I remembered being 12 years old, when my mom took the money from my birthday cards, about $75, which was a fortune to 12-year-old me, to buy Tiffany a new dress for a school dance. She told me my sister needed to look good in public more than I needed extra spending money. I remember crying for hours because I'd been saving for a bike. I realized in that moment that nothing had changed. 22 years later, and she was still doing this. So I did something I've never done before. I asked Tiffany to come speak with me privately in the backyard. Just her, not my mom. When we got outside, I asked her directly what was going on. And you guys, Tiffany broke down crying, like sobbing. She had no idea my mom was going to demand we give her $20,000. My mom had told her that I had enthusiastically offered to have her move in with us. She thought she was coming over to discuss the details of something I had already suggested. It hit me then that my mom has been playing us against each other our entire lives. I suddenly remembered when I was in 7th grade and these girls were bullying me about my braces. Tiffany, who would have been in 4th grade, actually confronted them and told them to leave her big sister alone. We used to be so close before my mom started creating this weird competition between us. After Tiffany calmed down, we went back inside. I was done with my mom's manipulation. So I did this, the this from my title. 1, I told my mom that Tiffany would not be moving in that day, and that she needed to take the suitcases back to her car while Tiffany and I figured things out together as sisters without her interference. 2, after my mom left, lots of guilt tripping and dramatics that I'll skip, I sat down with Tiffany and Jonathan, and we made an actual plan. First, We helped Tiffany file the paperwork for child support and paternity testing. Legal paternity needs to be established as soon as possible. 3. I called Oscar myself. Yep, I did. I told him who I was, and he sounded annoyed. When I brought up his responsibilities to Tiffany and the baby, he claimed the baby probably wasn't his. I let him know we were filing for legal paternity testing. He accused Tiffany of just wanting his money. I told him running away doesn't eliminate his legal obligations as a father. He tried to sound tough, saying his family has good lawyers. I mentioned we had documented evidence of his relationship and acknowledgement of the pregnancy in text, and asked if he'd like me to forward those to his parents. He got quiet and asked what I wanted. I told him to step up and do the right thing, and that child support would be determined legally. He agreed to talk to Tiffany. I also mentioned my mother's supposed $50,000 loan to his parents, but he claimed he didn't know about any loan. 4. Jonathan and I offered Tiffany our finished basement as an apartment. It has a separate entrance, bathroom, and we could add a small kitchenette. The conditions: it would be rent-free for 6 months, but she needs to find employment, attend financial literacy sessions with our accountant friend Tim, and contribute to household expenses after the 6-month period. 5. I used my professional connections to help Tiffany find pregnancy-compatible work. She's actually starting a remote administrative position next week with a company I've done projects with. I've always been naturally good with money and planning, unlike Tiffany, who gets that from mom, though I suppose I do sometimes spend too much on the kids' activities. But that's different because it's an investment in their future. Oh, and the biggest thing I did, with Tiffany's permission, I recorded one of my mom's manipulative phone calls where she was telling Tiffany that I was loaded because Jonathan's family had money. Completely untrue. His parents are retired teachers, and that I owed Tiffany because mom had always favored me growing up. Also untrue. Everyone knows Tiffany was the favorite. I then arranged a family meeting, including my dad Charles via video call. I played the recording, and my dad's face just dropped. He then revealed that he had been sending my mom money specifically for Tiffany for years, money Tiffany never received. My mom completely broke down. Turns out there was never any $50,000 loan to Oscar's parents. She had lost the money in some sketchy investment scheme, but was too embarrassed to admit it. She'd been using my dad's Tiffany money for her own expenses for years. So here's where things stand now. Oscar has agreed to financial support after we applied legal pressure, and he realized his parents never got any loan from my mom. Tiffany moved into our basement apartment last week and has started therapy. My mom has been exposed to the extended family for her manipulation and financial deceit. I've established clear boundaries with my mom and told her we need family counseling before resuming normal contact. Tiffany and I are rebuilding our relationship without my mom's interference. She's actually amazing with the kids and has been helping out a lot. Jonathan has been incredible through all of this. He spent the last 2 weekends making the basement apartment more comfortable for Tiffany. He even installed a little kitchenette with a mini fridge and microwave. Sometimes standing your ground isn't about money. It's about breaking toxic patterns that hurt everyone. Things aren't perfect. My mom still tries to manipulate sometimes. And Tiffany has a long road ahead as a single mother. But we're on a healthier path now. Edit. Thank you for the awards. I never expected this to get so much attention. Edit 2. To everyone asking about Oscar, yes, we are proceeding with legal paternity testing and formal child support arrangements. His initial reaction when I mentioned the loan makes me think his parents were never involved in my mom's financial loss, which is a whole other level of my mom's deception. Edit 3. For those asking if Tiffany is taking advantage of us, she's actually been amazing. She cried when we showed her the basement apartment and has already deep cleaned our entire kitchen as a thank you. She's determined to get back on her feet.